Hello, I'm Jonasz Lewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Imagine a world where a burglar tells the cops he's broken into the house next door because he saw the owner was about to install an alarm system and so he just had to act. The cops let him go. Imagine a thug telling the judge, yeah, I've beaten him black and blue. And why? Because he was about to attend a jiu-jitsu class. I just had to act. The judge obligingly enters a not guilty verdict and awards the goon compensation for bruises on his knuckles. And now, open your eyes. The year is 2025. This is reality. There is a country called Ukraine. It wanted to feel safe. It wished to join a pact called NATO, which is about self-defense. Why did it want to be part of NATO? Well, no reason. It's just that its neighbor, Russia, yanked Crimea and parts of the Donbass away from Ukraine illegally in 2014. It's rough living next to Russia, meaning you may want security cameras or a jiu-jitsu class. See where this is going, right? Well, then listen to this.
I actually think that that was the thing that caused the start of the war, and Biden said it, and Zelensky said it, and I think that was one of the reasons, one of the starts of the war. But from long before Putin, they said you cannot have Ukraine going in any way into NATO.
Okay, so this is literally what Russia said before invading. In fact, Russia always follows a pattern. It does some nasty stuff and then blames you. Simple. So why did it attack Ukraine then? Did it honestly believe NATO would do a land grab, send little green men to annex Krasnodar Krai, stoke separatism in Chechnya? Time to pause and rewind. The year is 2005, and Putin tells the nation that the moment the Soviet Union went belly up was, and I quote, the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century. Fast forward to 2008, NATO summit in Bucharest, Putin again. And he says, Ukraine is not even a state. What is Ukraine? A part of its territory is in Eastern Europe, but another part, a considerable one, was a gift from us. End of quote. Fast forward, 2014, right after the Crimea land grab, Vlad the Invader proclaims that Russians and Ukrainians are one people. Kiev is the mother of all Russian cities, end of quote. And so on and so on. I can do this all day, you know? The point is this. Russia is the toxic X in this story, the one with a bad aura, the one that has no skibidi ritz whatsoever, and will phantom tax you, or worse, just to get what it wants. Why the Gen Alpha brain rot slang, you may ask? Well, because Russian propaganda is the brain rot, and people in high places are catching a nasty dose of it apparently. So, in plain English, Russia is the aggressor, Ukraine is the victim. Russia plays the Empire Strikes Back on repeat. But Trump comes along and instead of trying to stop the Death Star, says that they blew up Alderaan because of legitimate security concerns. You know what you call this kind of thing? A retcon. Rewriting backstories to suit your new agenda. Russia does it all the time. If we don't get a firm grip on reality once again, we'll be living in a terrible fanfic written in Moscow. Right, before we move on, let's make one thing clear, because there is another Donald Trump story coming up. This isn't about the whole orange man bad thing. The first Trump term, from a Central European security perspective, not bad at all. And I would love to tell you Trump just came up with a spectacular deal that gives justice and peace to Ukraine. I'm pleased to tell you today that if sound legislation that will outlaw Russia forever, we begin bombing in 5 minutes. Okay, maybe not that, but you get the deal. Except, for the time being, I don't see this coming. Trump and his team are a mercurial bunch. No NATO for Ukraine one day, but maybe US boots on the ground if Putin won't budge the other day. Nukes? No chance. Or actually, maybe it's the president's call. Confusing? Perhaps deliberately so, to keep the adversaries off balance. But please, please, explain this.
I'd love to have him back. I think it was a mistake to throw him out. Look, it's not a question of liking Russia or not liking Russia. It was the G8 And you know, I said, what are you doing? You guys, all you talk about is Russia, and they should be sitting at the table.
So, this thing again. Russia would not have invaded if its interests were respected. Really? Do you know why Moscow got kicked out? 2014, Crimea. Ring any bells? Russia was in the G8 back then, and what did it do? It invaded Ukraine. Just in a kind of low-key, plausible deniability style, which means that the West was actually caught off guard and had literally no idea how to act. Kicking Moscow out of the G8 was the least it could do. It should have done more, not less. So, a question to the team at the White House. Have you guys ever heard of Pavlovian conditioning? It's a technique to manage stimuli and responses in animals created, funnily enough, by a Russian. Without going into detail, when you train the dog, you build a pattern. Action, reward, rinse and repeat. After a while, the dog will salivate when it hears you move the bowl around because it expects that the bowl contains some tasty snacks. And now, check this out. Russia invades, you do nothing, or worse still, you reward it by letting it stick around in exclusive clubs, or admitting them back, or by lifting sanctions. Russia invades, you reward it. Rinse and repeat, and next time Russia sees a country lying close by, it doesn't think, oh no, we could get blasted with sanctions or military action, we'd better leave it alone. No, it thinks, snacks! Consider this, and I'm addressing the West in general now. You've already done this multiple times. Georgia, 2008. Ukraine, 2014. It's 2025 now, and the Kremlin hound is acting weird again, ripping up Ukraine into little bits. If you get it another bowl of snacks, you've got yourself a dog with a serious behavioral problem right there. Not only that, but also you do a global Pavlovian conditioning on all autocrats. Before you know it, Xi Jinping could be chewing that Taiwan bone. And don't even get me started on the crazy little pug called the Rocket Man, who might also be getting, you know, ideas. So, I get how the Trump strategy is kind of intended to look like it's all over the place. I love chaos, I love toxic, I love wreckage, I love falling. Cool. Then again, these lyrics are from a Machine Gun Kelly album called Mainstream Sellout. So maybe that's not exactly a good thing with respect to Ukraine, because break up just to make up definitely isn't the right way to go about Russians and the G7. 7 is a good number. Let it stay that way. While the world discusses the Munich Security Conference and Putin dreams of strutting back into the G7 like a lost tsar at a fancy dress party, his proxies are busy polishing their missiles. But in the great Russian-Belarusian circus, distraction is everything. Enter Grigory Azarionak, Belarus's budget version of Solovyov, who spins fairy tales for Lukashenko's loyal subjects. According to him, Belarus is on the verge of a golden age, because nothing says prosperity like being Moscow's doormat.
Эта милитаризация, она продолжается с 2021 года, особенно что касается Польши. Там на польском приграничье с Беларусью введено военное положение, туда не пускают журналистов, там польские пограничники, спецназовцы, просто там войска, они расстреливают там мигрантов, выставляют там танковые войска, якобы для борьбы с мигрантами. Ну, то есть мы прекрасно понимаем, что эта граница, она неспокойная, была, есть и будет, но Беларусь свой фронт держит. Помните, в начале специальной военной операции президент Лукашенко сказал, что он не позволит бить в спину русским, и поэтому и все меры безопасности соблюдены, и поставлено ядерное оружие, вот расцветет орешник в Беларуси. Ну, поэтому я не думаю, что уже совсем наши соседи сойдут с ума и попытаются устроить войну. Но мы на это не раз отвечали. Все карты подписаны, все цели намечены, и поэтому нам есть чем защитить нашу страну.
Meanwhile, as the Kremlin screams about NATO's militarization, Russian bases are springing up across Belarus like mushrooms after radioactive rain. But don't worry, comrades, Azarionak assures us that the motherland is strong. Just ignore the empty shelves, the crumbling economy, and the fact that Belarus is now little more than Putin's launch pad. And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.